Save Our Kids is an opportunity for you to be introduced to a few school and student helpers. If there is a space or a place to improve the lives of our children, we know a few families and business owners who have made it their business to answer the call for help and provide a solution to those challenges that impact our children and eventually us all. We could not just choose one kiddo to save, so we are asking for your help to reach more. Join Keeping Your Kids Safe as we identify some of the problems and share a few solutions that have been created just for you. Okay, we made it. Hello, everybody. How are you today? Thank you very much for joining us. So there have been some little bit of changes here with some of the lineup, but we are going to still get started because I believe that I need to be respectful of the time of those people who have decided to come and share their time with us. So welcome, Dr. Rowe. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to open it up and I am going to go ahead and share some of the information that actually makes this possible. So my name is Tabitha Barron and I am the founder of Keeping Your Kids Safe. This is what I want to share. Approximately 53 million children go to school every year, K through 12. Now that number has dropped. So when I first looked at the numbers in 2014, that number was 55 million, but now we're around 53 million. So let's talk a little bit about what has happened from there. Approximately 4 million teachers across 90,000 schools in the US, 35% of them saying that they want to quit. Those stats are here in within the last year in 2023. If we take a look at the numbers, 18 million families make up those 53 million children that go to school every single year. And they suffer with higher anxiety, low reading skills, 90% are sleep deprived, and most of them are about a year and a half behind for school. So because of some of the conversations that we are going to have today, I just want to make sure that I actually state a few other things that I feel are important. So let's go ahead and get rid of that. Let's see. One out of 5 kids are bullied. 5.4 million students skip school every day due to bullying. 9 out of 10 of those students are LGBT students who experience harassment. 60% of the boys who were bullied in middle school had at least one criminal conviction by the age of 24. And victims of bullying can experience being afraid to go to school, being afraid to ride the school bus, using the school bathrooms, being alone in the school hallways. These bullying activities actually help with fear, depression, loneliness, anxiety, low self-esteem, physical illness, and even suicide and suicidal thoughts. So I will save a few of the other stats for a little bit later, as if we can when we add our fourth person into the conversation. What I'm saying to you is that all of this information, we can't fight the stats, right? The numbers are the numbers. The information is just that information. But when we look at the fact that there's 4 million teachers across 90,000 schools and 35% of them want to quit, that's a call. That's a cry for help that says something's wrong, something needs to change, and we're here to try to help support all of those people who want to make those changes, who are working so hard to actually make that impact. So today our roundup is Dr. Rolanda Justice. Why do I always mess up your last name?
Imanuga.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And we got James Corbett. We will have somebody else will join a little bit later because we did have a change in the lineup today, but that's okay. We wish them the best and we want them to make sure that they can come back when that time is open for us. Mm-hmm. So we'll go ahead and go around the room. Dr. Rowe, can you go ahead and introduce yourself and tell everybody what you do?
Yeah, so hi everyone. My name is Dr. Rolandria Justice Imanuga. I am a former teacher, former principal, and consultant working in the leadership development space. I started my own consulting company after earning my doctorate last year at Georgia State. And So I work with schools, districts, businesses, organizations, and working with them to develop inclusive, strategic, confident leaders, to help to create the spaces where we're not getting, like you said, Tabitha, 35% of teachers looking to leave the profession.
That's nice. Okay, so that's cool. So, okay, now we'll go ahead and have James go ahead and introduce himself and let us know what he does and what he's about.
Hello, everybody. Nice to meet everyone. I'm happy to be here, honored to be here. I am a software founder. Myself and a few others came together after years of experience being in security, law enforcement, military experience. We have 100 plus years of experience on our team. My experience specifically and inspiration came from I was on the domestic violence response team and also working even in security for events as large as 45 to 50,000 people, and recognizing that there was a gap in reporting and how to actually get people to report and provide tips and support. And then from what I learned with law enforcement specifically is there needs to be ways to securely do so and give people the confidence that they're securely able to do so. And what we solve is the gap between people needing an app to report something and not needing an app to report something. And we came up with something that bridges that gap and allows just to have the reporting live in the infrastructure itself through QR codes to an app that's directly connected to the parties that need to be on there. And that's what we did. That's who we are, and it's who I am.
Okay, and then there is me. So my name is Tabitha Barron. I am the founder of Keeping Your Kids Safe. I have developed a platform that allows each child to effectively communicate their way home. You as a parent will get a text message during the process. The administrators will get an instantaneous notification letting them know whether or not their child is being sent in the right direction or the wrong direction. The beauty of our program is that it does cover 100% of the school population. So that means your walkers and your bikers, your car riders, your childcare bus riders, and your yellow bus riders all get scanned off of an elementary school campus, and you are very much aware of the time and date of when they left. So I'm glad that we were able to do that. So I'm going to share that ultimately the reason why I decided to do these type of lives is because what I found was that there are so many of us out here working towards and working for the benefit of our students and those educators. And a lot of times we actually see and hear where a lot of them are saying, some people don't even realize that there are options and opportunities for that. So hang on one more second, and we're going to go ahead and welcome Diana. And Diana, I know I caught you. Sorry.
That's okay.
Diana, can you go ahead? I'm going to go ahead and put you on a spotlight, and you're going to go ahead and share with everybody what you do and what you're about, right?
Okay, so I'm with DS Labs, and we provide cybersecurity, not through a software solution, but through a hardware device. Therefore, we are able to keep 100% of your devices safe from anything from ransomware to phishing attacks to any kind of cyber attack in real time.
That is fun. I love it. I love it. Now I will share so now as soon as I get them things together. All right. So here are the additional stats I have for you. So the educational sector experienced 1,241 incidents in 2021 with 282 involved confirmed data disclosures. Of those attacks, 75% were from external sources, with the remaining involved insiders. These attacks were overwhelmingly motivated by monetary rewards, with 95% involving a financial motive. What I found was very interesting. In the cyber attacks, you're thinking that the schools are very secure. But what I have learned is that in some of these instances, 50,000 in one school district were impacted. And in another school district, 820,000 people's information was disclosed due to a cyber attack. So when you look at that and you see and you notice that some of those things are happening, we recognize that there is added support that is necessary and needed. And so I'm glad that you're here to be able to share that with everyone. So as we get started into the conversation a little bit, I just wanted everybody to kind of do a round robin and tell me a little bit about why did you choose to choose the business you're in and what do you anticipate you want to be able to do with your businesses? So we'll go ahead and start with Diana.
Okay, so I am in cybersecurity because at the time we started our business, we looked around and there were no good, viable resources for the small to mid-sized space. And so we decided to take cybersecurity one step further and take what was out there and make it better and affordable for anything from our school systems all the way up to enterprise sized companies, manufacturing, those kinds of things. And so that's how I got into what I'm doing. What I want to do with it is I want to make sure that these kids grow up and they don't find out at 18 that there's a mortgage in their name. I don't want them to find out that their credit score is non-existent and they're going to have to build a credit score from scratch because someone else has been using their social security number for years because a school allowed that to be leaked. And so those types of breaches are what we are trying to prevent to make sure that these kids stay safe as it pertains to their credit score and everything it is cyber. I mean, we're not even going to get into the cyberbullying and those kinds of cyber attacks, but I can protect their data.
That's significant considering that a lot of times. So first of all, you know what's bothersome, what you just said, is the fact that somebody can get a mortgage at the age of 10 or 12 just by using a social security number. Nobody pays attention to the fact that that social security number has not been used before, or doesn't have a history to it.
Well, I mean, there are checks and balances in place, but unfortunately there's ways around every single one of them.
Okay. So yeah, that's a little disturbing to say the least. Okay, so we'll come back to this. All right, James. So why did you choose to do this specifically, and what do you want to gain from it?
So I wanted to say that even with that, with your getting a mortgage, it's actually slow build up, right? I think that's what Diana, what you would probably say to that is you actually build credit on that person's social security, and the kid's 12 years old. So you have years to build it up, and then you can buy that house later when they're like 15. So that is a really important thing. So thank you, Diana. As usual, you are the best. Now, for me, and why I chose to do this is because I actually been working with law enforcement for years and building the software. Our original intent was actually to help with human trafficking and to help combat the lack of good communication sharing that happens in law enforcement because of the softwares are built up. And it's really actually the way the laws are set up throughout each district and county and municipality. They all have their own buying power, which leads into a disparate, communication system. So we came up with this tool to really combat in that area. What we learned is that there really needs to be better reporting and better ways to work with, let's say informants, for example, in law enforcement. We can help them keep their informants safe and the officers safe. And then that's when we recognize, wait, the same thing happens with these anti-bullying where, schools are coming up with kids that are like looking out for bullies and ways to report it. We now have a way to be able to provide to those kids a safe way to report directly into those who need to know that bullying is happening or potential threat is happening, so they can do that. And that's what we built up as a way to allow to bridge that communication between all important parties with no apps needed except for leadership. So that's like 5 people in your school that'll need to download an app. So it's easily integrated. There's like no barriers between school students, visitors, parents, or anybody that's on campus. And that's us.
I think I really liked your program because, so I don't know, I'm going to comment on a lot, I guess. I really liked your program because it actually covers for children and for the adults. And
Yes.
so it goes across a number of different industries, but it also helps regardless of where you're placing it. So right now we're focusing on the students and the children, right? But
Yep.
as we go ahead and listen to Dr. I just shortened her name just so we know, Dr. Rose, she is a former teacher. And I cannot imagine at some given point in time how challenging it can be as an adult to actually report something that you witness because you realize that the people maybe in leadership or your counterparts may not be so readily ready to receive that information. So being able to do it anonymously in a way that no one knows where it's coming from. They just know that it has been reported and that there's help being sent to them. So I really like that part of your app.
Yeah.
are your program, period.
And to be honest, you actually can set it up where you could have like bathroom A wing, right? Bathroom 1A wing can actually be a location that you know exactly where the report came from and the time where it came from. You just don't know if the person doesn't share their name. You don't know who shared it. It is genuinely anonymous, but you can have an idea if you go to security cameras and things like that and look into it if you really wanted to. You do have a way to actually distinguish where the reports came from in the school itself.
Cool. I like it. All right. You're up next. Let's go.
Yeah. So again, I'm Dr. Rolandria Justice Emenuga, and just going off of what James said. So once the leaders get that information, it is now up to them to now do something with that. And so why I got into this role is because I want to be able to help leaders to be the type of leaders that our kids need, who will actually then do something with that information, right? And so with my leadership development company, I'm working to build leaders who are not only inclusive, but they're also impactful, right? So like, not only are you actually intentionally building a school community where everyone feels like they are a part of this community, but then also on top of that, when you do have those incidents where someone isn't feeling that way, you are then going and doing something about it that actually gets at the heart of the issue and doesn't just put a Band-Aid on a bigger issue. And so why I got into this work is because I wanted to have those kinds of schools that I wanted and needed as a child growing up as an Army brat, so moving all over the place. I also have 3 children of my own, and I want to be able to build the kinds of schools that they deserve and need. In my dissertation that I wrote last year, I wrote about a little girl in Utah named Izzy, who was a 10-year-old Black girl with autism. And not only was she being bullied by the kids at her school, but the adults weren't doing anything. So one day her mom saw her trying to sneak a bottle of Febreze out of the house in the morning. And she asked her, "Why are you taking Febreze to the school?" And she said it's because the kids at school said that she stank, and the teacher moved her away from everyone else. And so one day that little girl went home and she committed suicide. And that story broke my heart in so many different ways, not only because I had been a little Black girl growing up in Manhattan, Kansas, and not always feeling as though I was a part of a school community, but also because I have my own daughter who has autism. And so knowing how easily her heart gets broken, I could have imagined what that little girl with her mom has gone through, what her family has gone through. And so I work every day to ensure that I'm helping to build the kind of leaders who are creating the schools that I would want my child to go to and any child to go to.
Yes. Okay. So yeah, that's hard. Very, very hard. And that was one of the things that I wanted to make sure that I made it very clear. So suicide is never the answer. But to be honest, some of us have been in that place where we've attempted to make those decisions, right? Those final decisions on something that's supposed to be just minor. It's gonna blow over. But right now it just seems really, really big. And the problem I have with all of this is that when we take a look at it, we as the adults, we used to be those children, but they are living in a different type of time now.
Yep.
This is nothing. This is stuff that I cannot imagine. I ask myself, would I ever want to be 12 again right now? Absolutely not.
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. And then on top of that, the other thing is, how many of us are really not listening? That's what part of the problem is. So when I took a look at what I was doing, I have been told to change it, to do something different. This is the inappropriate thing to do. We don't have this problem, blah, 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 blah. But the numbers actually are, as my son would say, rah, rada, rada, rada. I was like, I'm going to do that now. But there are these different, we're not listening. The numbers don't tell you that things are working in their favor. And everything that you guys are doing, everything that all of us business owners are doing to help support our students, our communities, and our families are actually letting the leaders know that we hear you. We actually see you. We're catching the numbers and the statistics, and we're telling you that we're willing to help you.
Yeah.
And if you are willing to ride this ride with us, we're willing to help you along the way. Because, like I said in the last show, I have my kids for 18 years before I let them loose on this world, right? But you have them for short periods of time. So in little elementary school, 5 years, 3 to 5 years, right? In middle school, it's 2 to 3 years, right? Because I don't 3 or 4.
Mhm.
And sometimes they break it up into 4. And in high school, it's 4 to 3, 3 to 4. So at the end of the day, these little subsets of time is not enough for you to say that I have to do everything differently or wrong. You have to do everything your way and I get to be excluded, because they come home to us every day and we have to make changes that are going to improve that. So when we have a data breach, or when we have an account where someone's not able to report, or when you don't have the right professional development, how does that impact the student and their learning? So these are the type of questions that I wanted to make sure we put out there, and just let anybody know, if you are listening or watching our live, we are open to questions, comments, and concerns. So go ahead and plug them into the comments, because we are waiting to hear that feedback and to be able to provide answers where we can. So if you're ready to go ahead, Diana, go ahead, take it away.
No, I was actually going to say, I think you should tell us why you started and what you do.
Oh, I did. Okay, so the reason why I got started is because my 5-year-old niece got put on the wrong school bus twice in the same school year. That story's all over my website, right? But the problem, we don't really talk about what was the trigger point that made me shift. I was on the phone with my mom when she didn't get off the bus. And to hear a woman, we're all strong, we're all moving, we got plans for the day. And to hear her voice change in a way of true concern and break, I was like, oh my gosh, my heart dropped to my stomach.
Yeah.
I was like so sick. I hung up the phone. I was like, okay, go bye. And when I found out it was the second time, the first time they didn't tell me, I was like, what is happening that we are not doing anything different? So as I started to look further into it, I realized that there were more and more families having this experience on a regular basis, and nobody was talking about it. And then I started asking questions from the DOE, and they were like, we know that there's thousands of kids being misplaced a day, but it's not required to do it. And so that requirement, I was like, okay, so I can either be part of the problem or part of the solution. So I decided to be part of the solution. So I created KICS underneath keeping your kids safe. And so the whole entire goal is that, if we think about it, a walker can go home. It takes him 15 minutes to get home. If in 15 minutes he doesn't make it home, you're looking out the window at minute 17. At minute 20, you're on the front porch. You're walking towards him now, trying to figure out what's happening. So inside of you walking towards your child to go and find out what's going on, why is it taking you so long to get home, you're going to look at a couple of different things. One, are they being bullied, or are they the bully? So we get to get rid of that. Are they doing things they should not be doing? Ding dong ditch, picking over trash cans, because kids like to do those things. And it's okay. I mean, it's a rite of passage at some point. Then the last one is, if your child is picked up by somebody who they're not supposed to be with, right? A 15-minute window trying to get off of school grounds and a 50-minute window is a really big difference.
Yeah.
And our goal is to make sure that you know what time your child left, so you can time them and figure out what time they should hit your door, so that you can minimize the opportunity for human and sex trafficking, kidnapping, co-parenting challenges, and various things like that. So we are keeping your kids safe. So that's a whole entire goal. So so go ahead. The question is, I forgot what the question was. Did I? Maybe. So how does the different things that you do, how does it impact a child's learning? So based off of what you do, if a child data gets stolen or things like that, it's going to impact how they move inside the school, or how they're able to get into college. So tell us a little bit more about how the impact is to the child.
So as far as the impact for me, there's not really an impact on learning. It's more as they progress through school and they want to go get their first loan for a car. And so they've saved their money, they've gone and gotten a job, they've done this, they've done that, and they put all their little ducks in a row, and they walk into a bank and they sit down and they're like, okay, I'm ready to get this loan for this car, only to pull up their credit report to find out that they've got a mortgage that was defaulted on. What?
Mm.
I've never applied for a mortgage, says mom and the child, and the bank is looking at them going, there's a house that was repossessed in your name 2 years ago because someone was able to get a hold of that data. They were able to submit an application, and because you had the right forms, however it works, they were able to get it. We see it happen. There's credit cards in your name. This happened to my own niece. My niece turned 18 and went to go get her first credit card, and she was declined. And she's like, I'm only looking for like a $300 limit. I'm trying to start. And she found out that there were 3 credit cards in her name, and she had over $50,000 in debt. And
That's
so,
amazing.
if you think about that, doesn't really impact their learning, it impacts their lives, because
Right.
in order to clean that up, it's going to take years. And my niece is still battling all of that went on. And come to find out, it was a relative that used her information to do it. And luckily, it wasn't a school breach, but no matter what, it still happened to her. And it was still awful to overcome. It was still, so time consuming. And you've got to try and figure out, how do I get this? I mean, we as adults, have any of you ever tried to get anything off your credit report ever?
Yes.
And it's
Terrible.
like, it's nightmare fuel for us. So to be just starting out and being all excited because you've done everything you're supposed to do, and you go to apply for a credit card, get a loan, anything that has to do with monetary anything, only to get smacked in the face by the fact that, well, where it sits right now, it looks like you already have $50,000 in debt. And the thing is once you put the right information back into the system, those people start coming after you for that money. And so it's a snowball effect. It gets worse before it ever gets better. So the fact that these schools need to keep these children's information safe, it's critical to their futures, because that can be the straw that breaks the camel's back, and a child doing something complete, like, what's the point? And so it can create a really stressful, a really tough situation for that child.
That is true. And so Save Our Kids is about about everything, all the way from the beginning to the end. Okay, so I'm gonna ask this question out loud. Who's Rocco? Anybody know?
Rocco is he's actually a friend of mine that wants to watch this.
Oh,
So
okay,
you
cool.
might-
Because I was like, what's happening?
Yeah.
I'm
Rocco.
Okay.
Buddy.
No problem. So no problem. Okay, James. So I look at the whole entire thing. So when our job as parents is to get the child from 0 to 18 so that they can be productive and live a life that we can all be proud of. And in order to do that, we have to protect their data. And that's part of their learning. That's part of their education. And it actually encompasses financial literacy and things like that. So when we say that, so that is pretty good. So go ahead, James. Now you tell us, what does that look like?
Yeah. So from my perspective, quite honestly, it's the strategy around safety. So we're really trying to help the school to offer a way that is working in the modern approach to communication with young millennials and younger, right? Like, we like to be online and text and message and everything like that. That's how we feel most comfortable. Something I noticed when I was a kid, and that's why I really did hone in and focus in on this methodology of reporting. When I was a kid, teenager, I remember I didn't really know of a lot of resources. I had no idea. So if there was a way for me to learn about different things and different opportunities, it might have changed the trajectory for my life as well, especially with like mental health and things that I struggled with, because I have ADHD, and that comes with a lot of different, and I'm talking like real, genuine, diagnosed ADHD. If all of you know me, you know what I'm talking about. So, things like when I'm getting really uncomfortable, when there's really loud noises, or, things are really going a little bit crazy, it's hard for me to stay focused. And, I wish I knew how to get out. And in fact, sometimes being with ADHD too, and some of the other things that I have with me, being a little bit hypersensitive to things and feeling like I'm a victim when in reality I'm not. I could have talked to somebody if I knew how and who to reach out to at those times, right? So me looking back to who I was as a kid and a teenager, and really people who said to me years later, like, man, you're so much different. Like, you're talking now, like you're more open and more punctual, if you will, in terms of how you interact with people and everything. Because I was kind of quiet even when I was in school, and I wasn't really an very outgoing person, and there was reasons for that. I just wasn't very comfortable at all. So if I had someone to be able to talk to, or if I had someone that I could get in touch with and I had the right tools in front of me, I would have done it. I know that for a fact. So looking at myself personal in depth, if we put up these QR codes inside of these rooms, inside these bathrooms that are directly connected to our platform, we can put up education resources, because when the kid's sitting there, he can scan it, he can learn some stuff, or her can learn some stuff inside the school. And then even deeper, let's go to the example of there's, students that are dedicating themselves to report that bullying is happening, right? They could have little cards, little like business cards or something like that, or maybe not at all. They could literally just have the QR codes that they go to scan in their lockers and the bathrooms and things like that, where they can actually report and submit a report into the appropriate parties. Hey, I saw this kid getting bullied the other day. It seemed like they were taking offense to it. Just something to look out for, right? And you could have these other kids who are on the lookout for others so that they can help protect each other. Because if you look at the stats, it's actually seen 61% of the time, it's actually the students that are doing the reporting of any kind of nefarious activity. The next closest is 12%, and that's the employees at 12% reporting. That is a major difference in reporting, right? So the number disparity between those two is large. So we need to be able to protect and empower the voices of the students in the ways that they communicate today in today's day and age. So that's why we built up this methodology that we came up with. It really has the potential to educate and empower the voice of the students and it's 100% coverage of the campus. So immediately you don't have to convince anybody to download apps. You don't have to spend dollars and cents marketing it year after year to students. It just exists on your property the way it should. And that's what we did. That's why we built it.
I like that. And I think about the incident. I don't know how long ago I remember where the little boy was in the bathroom and they caught it on recording, and these kids went in there and stomped him, like beat him. And if I'm not, correct me if I'm wrong, if you remember the incident, but did he die? So that was a problem. And that's something that somebody could have been able to say 911 call, and then be able to, they can scan that QR code and say, hey, we have a problem. It could have saved that young man's life. And then that wouldn't have been such a big ordeal. And then two, the other thing is that they say that a very small number of bullied children might retaliate through extremely violent measures. In 12 of 15 school shooting cases in the 90s, the shooter had a history of being bullied. They say that doesn't directly relate, but there is a correlation between what is happening to them and what happens as the outcome. And if we can prevent it, or if we can give them avenues to report on it, why would we not? And so schools, I would definitely be like, come on, guys, we can do this. We're asking for this. I am a parent. I am an auntie. I am a sister, and one of these days I'm going to be a grandma. But, I just want to make sure, I'm like, let's not do it now, not now. But, I have to look forward to that. So we do have a question, but I'm going to go ahead and let you go ahead. And you want to answer the question?
I would love to talk about the question that Phil asked about what strategies we think are needed to reduce the number of teachers wanting to leave. I think that the one thing I'd say before I talk specific strategies is that number with leaders is probably the same or higher, right? Like, I would say that there are probably that many. I've heard from them. I taught a class at Georgia State this summer on advanced instructional leadership. And so the people that are in there are principals, assistant principals, chief of staff of district, like people that are in the leadership world in different spots in Georgia. And a lot of what was coming up was how overworked they feel and tired, and that joy that so many leaders I've talked to used to have for education, it's leaving. And that's why so many teachers are also feeling that same way, right? And so how do we address that? I think it starts with the leadership. It starts with making sure that they are feeling confident to do this role. Because with that confidence, I know that things are going to come up. That's the nature of the job. But I feel capable of being able to address those issues versus what we see so often, which is people turning a blind eye, right? Because, and not even necessarily because I don't want to deal with that issue, or I don't have time to deal with that issue. That's a fire, but there's a raging, huge fire over here that I feel like I have to deal with. And so how are we supporting our leaders to not only feel capable and confident to do this role, but also feel that they are supported while doing that? Because when they are supported, then they can support their teachers more effectively, who can then support the kids, right? There's this saying in education: if you don't feed the teachers, they will eat the kids, right?
What?
And so that's the same it's the same thing with leaders, though, right? If the leaders aren't getting that support, if they're not getting that opportunity to be able to step back and see big picture, then they're going day to day, not really having an impact, which is then making teachers feel like I have to do this all on my own, right? Which they're already feeling overwhelmed. And so then it becomes, you know what? Actually, that Starbucks job isn't looking all that bad right about now.
Not Starbucks.
Right? Like, it's maybe I will go and be a barista because this right now is feeling so overwhelming. And that's what we're seeing in leadership as well. So Phil, that's one of the things I would say is you reduce the number of teachers wanting to leave by making sure that leaders are getting that consistent coaching, that consistent support. One of the things I've always had to do with leaders when I've worked with them is get them out of their office. Let's go. We're getting out of the office so that we can go and see the bathrooms and make sure that there's nothing going on that I need to be aware of. You can go and you can observe teachers and see, oh, which one of my teachers are feeling really stressed and are starting to quote unquote eat the kids, so that I know I need to go and talk to that teacher and say, hey, what's going on? I'm noticing that you're a little bit shorter with the kids, and that's not how we do things here. But if I'm in my office constantly being bombarded by fires, then how am I even able to get out into my school to see what is going on? What do I need to address? What's going well that I can make sure and highlight to people so that they don't feel like everything is always bad here? So those kinds of things can't happen without leaders who are getting that support and getting that push to focus on the things that really are going to have an impact, not just the things that they feel like they have to deal with right now.
So, okay, that was amazing. Because first of all, I only looked at the teachers because those are our first line. That's the one that we go to. But I will go ahead and take a look at the stats and information and bring that next week in order to have that conversation about it's administrators too. It's not just the teaching staff that wants to leave. And Starbucks, oh my gosh, not Starbucks. And eating
Well,
our
and if
children.
you think about it, James's platform would also help in this, because if the teachers are feeling heard and supported, they probably wouldn't want to leave as quickly either. Yeah. So for them to have this reporting feature and them to be able to make themselves heard and not have to be the tattletale of sorts, or the Gabby Gertie or whatever terminology you want to put on it this week. But so by having a platform to be heard, if those things start being addressed and these teachers feel like they actually have a support system in place, teaching the kids could be enjoyable again, because they're getting that support that they need. They're getting the help that they need. They're being heard when there's an issue. And that could definitely help boost the 35% that want to leave.
I actually wanted to say something that's really important too. It actually goes along with what you were just talking about. And that's really the evaluation portion of it, right? So this was just given to me. I did not build our product for this purpose, but I was talking to another consultant the other day who was like, man, your product would be great for evaluations. As soon as I say that, I feel like Dr. Rowe
Yes.
understands what I'm saying. And okay, cool. Even Tabitha, you get it too. I didn't think of it. I did not think of it at all because, you know, I'm not in that world. I don't know. I'm not a teacher. I'm not going to sit and pretend like I know it. So this is what he shared with me. He was like, man, if there could be a way where I could be the evaluator going from classroom to classroom, scan a quick QR code, submit everything in, then these reports, because our platform is also AI powered. So it's automatically generating reports for the leadership. So there's less work that has to get done. Leadership can get this printout, automatically read through everything and easily understand what's happening with all their teachers in literally 5 minutes or less. It's actually less than that. They just submit everything in and it gets submitted to the top so they know what's happening with their students or with their teachers, which then affects the students. It actually is everything that Diana, what you were just saying, and Dr. Rowe, what you were just saying. It's really improving it. And correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like it's, hey, let's improve the relationship here and let's improve the communication, improve communication to then improve the relationship. That's really critical for leadership. It's something that I think every leader can agree with is super important. And that's actually why, you know, even aside of evaluations, you could use our tool for that too. So it's just it is an all around great reporting and tip tool for sure.
I am so excited. You know, okay, because I seen it too. As soon as she was talking, I was like, wait, you can actually go in there and be like, what are the things that you want to see different in the school year? And then they can do it anonymously and no one gets to say, oh, I know that was you. You don't have to do that. You can have a way for people to be able to communicate. And the common theme throughout all four of our pods here is communication.
Amen.
If there is nothing else that we're receiving from this situation, is just the fact that the lack of communication is causing a deficit in our education, who we're able to hire, and how successful our students are when they go out into the world to do the great things that they have been destined to do. Yeah. And I feel like if we could just get there to that place where it's that. And so I get really excited. And I'm like, oh my gosh, yes. Because it's like a definite validation that, okay, no, I'm just saying, administrators here, we actually pay our taxes. We actually do those things that help you to do what you're doing, what you love. Just listen to what we're saying and be willing to say, hey, let's talk about some options. You don't have to choose one of ours, but you can choose an option, because there'll be more business owners that will show up to actually be able to share that. And so I love that for sure. I'm going to go ahead and put up the other question that I have for the, I lost it. There's another question. Here we go. Troy has a, how do we go about teaching our children to be free thinkers? I believe there's something that will open the communication door wide for our children.
Can I start with that?
Yes.
Troy, I think it starts first by having or feeling as though you have time. So I think about not only as from a school leader perspective of, if I feel like I have time, then I will give that time to my teachers, or my teachers will give that time to our kids to be able to have that opportunity to think freely, think critically, do all of that, right? With my own children, each of my own children had speech at some point in their life. And there were a lot of times when I knew what they wanted to say, but I had to stop and give them that time to get it out. But while I'm doing that, if I'm also cooking dinner and doing X number of other things, then the chance of me actually giving that time is going to be much less than if I feel like, okay, I'm going to put all that to the back burner and give you the time to think freely, give you the time to come up with new ideas, give you the time to process what's going on. And Troy, unfortunately, what I've seen is that that's like the last thing that people feel like they have at schools and at home. So I felt it from both the school leader perspective and from the perspective of being a parent of 3, one with autism. It's like you have to intentionally give that time for kids to process, because it's a process. It's not just like this quick, easy, let's go.
Yeah. So I get that too. I do have one on the spectrum, and he is now a young adult. So I had to fight my way through it. So I get it. I think that I feel like this is part of the community and village, like pulling everybody together and saying, okay, what is it that you can add to this pot in order to help that student be fed everything necessary for them to be successful. So we have James who's saying you can anonymously report something that you feel uncomfortable about. That can be in the workplace, sexual harassment, harassment from a manager or a peer. It can be in a school where you're reporting bullying. It can be sexual assault. It can be a lot of things. And then it also can be for human trafficking, where it says that you're able to say, hey, I'm in trouble, and being able to get that support and help like right away. And then for you, Doc, the thing about you is that professional development is so key. I talked to a teacher right before I got on here, and a previous teacher who has left education. Now she's serving into education, but not in the same capacity. Her heart was, I guess, kind of broken. She felt like she wasn't being heard. She wasn't being supported. There was no place or space for her to grow and do great things that she wanted to do. And I feel like if we can kind of start to solve some of that, I think that people would be much better and happier in their positioning. What do you feel about mentoring? So how would this work when it comes to mentoring for any of you?
Well, before we jump to that subject, I just thought of another use for impact, in the fact that you could actually give the children a voice of suggestion. If they have a suggestion about how a problem could be solved, because I saw Phil's comment about the peer pressure, the lack of maturity, and all of these different things. And kids are afraid to talk up and say, hey, what if we did this? What if we tried this? Because everybody's going to point and make fun or laugh.
Yeah.
But that would be another use for that James's tool, would be the fact that they could have the power of free thinking and be able to, and will they do everything like, oh, hey, let's put a disco ball in the cafeteria? No, but but the kids that come up, but the ones that are truly trying to embrace this idea, they could come with suggestions that could come from the student's perspective and put a completely different view on the issue.
Yeah.
Yep. And you could actually, for something like that, to rest assured that you're not going to get some BS stuff coming in, you could make that actually non-anonymous. You could actually make the, hey, it's required. You have to put your name and like a student ID number or something.
It would depend on where that goes, whether or not they would truly take to that. And who cares if somebody suggests how quickly can we hit the delete button if they want a disco ball?
Yeah, true. I'm just saying there
right. But that whole anonymity is the reason that you'll get some of these kids to come forward with their great idea.
You're totally right.
And so it's just another thought that, hey,
I love it.
It's just another way to basically embrace the free thinking environment and allow them to have a safe space to do just that.
And Diana too, like it gives it so that it's not just a space to report negative, but it's also a space to empower you and give you, like you said, give you voice and make you feel as though this is your community too.
Yeah.
Yes. That you're a part of a community versus being spoon-fed what choices, the only choices you have, you know.
Your voice matters, empower the community overall. That's right. Amen.
That would be, this is amazing. So this is why I decided to do this, right? Because there are the solutions to the problems that are actually bleeding out into the statistics that we get to see and read on a regular basis. And I love the fact that each one of us has a solution that directly impacts the families, the children, the communities, and the educators. And it's not something that's so far out of reach that it would be harmful to any one of the people that we support. So, okay, I'm not
Troy's response.
It's like, what is happening? So, bring some for revolutionary ideas. My current journey.
That's exactly right, Troy.
That's true.
Genuinely, that's real. Like
that's
sometimes the BS, right, ends up being like, wait, that's an actual answer. Like that sounded crazy. It sounded fringe, but that's actually an answer. That's kind of cool. And Troy, I'm with you, brother. I'm with you.
Yeah, so that's a good one. So I'm
But
glad that
now
we're
I'm
able to.
curious about his current journey, though. I have to be honest.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we'll have to ask him. Maybe he'll put it up there. We'll see what happens. Go ahead, share with us your current journey of crazy.
I need
That's
more
for sure.
details.
So so as we go ahead and wrap up, the one question that I want to ask each one of you is what is the consequence of them not of educators, communities, families adopting what you offer as a product or service? What consequences are there for those parties to not implementing your programs? So I'm going to go to Doc first and go up this way.
Yeah, I mean, the consequences are what we saw during COVID, right? Where your kids are at home with you because schools don't have teachers or school leaders to effectively run their business, like run the organizations. And you also have, um, you have leaders who are just unhappy, and then kids coming home unhappy, and unhappy households as a result. Like it doesn't feel good when a place that you're at most of the day isn't being run effectively and isn't a place that you feel like you are a part of it. And that's from not just the kids' perspective, but from the family perspective and the staff perspective. No one wants to go to work and feel like I'm not a part of this community, like this isn't fun for me. And so that's the consequence without really good, effective leadership development and coaching at these schools.
Oh, that's good. I like that. Okay, James.
So essentially, actually, everything that Dr. Rowe just said, we also have, from a different perspective, can say the exact same things from the software perspective, enabling those voices to be heard. But also, I have to be honest with you, even the wasted money and effort, right? Because when you have a product that you're trying to get people and convince people to download, you're wasting a lot of time, you're wasting a lot of money, you're frustrating people around you, and you're not allowing for a good culture to be built, right? So someone like Dr. Rowe could come in and talk to your school all she wants about training you, but if you don't fix those communication problems, even from a better software perspective for communication wise, I mean, you're literally going to be wasting money, time, day in and year in and year out. So that's something where we come in. It's a small cost per year with an upfront cost that's actually also just as affordable. So it actually gets more affordable as the years go on, is basically what I'm saying with our product. And you would be wasting more energy and time and money trying to convince people to download these new fancy apps that nobody's downloading anymore anyway. If you look at the statistics, like 85% of people are not downloading new apps, 41% are getting rid of those apps, and 20% are using less than 5 apps. So I'm sorry, flip that on its head. It's actually 85 using less than 5% or using less than 5 apps, and then 21% consistently just deleting them entirely. So people are minimizing as we go on. It's no longer a cool thing to download new apps. It's like, dude, this is annoying. Stop. Like, stop trying to convince me to download your new app. That's exactly where we fit in. We save you money that way and process.
Well, and I'd just like to add, James, the other thing is we've had open door policies in schools for decades and it doesn't work. An open door, there's still a face attached to it. And without that, or with that, it's led nowhere. With yours, the anonymity part is key, and not having that is detrimental.
Right. I agree. I 100% agree with that. Okay, so what's the consequences of them not adopting one of your program that will prevent the cyber attacks?
Well, I'm going to use an anecdote. There was a woman who wrote $100,000 check out of the school's endowment to someone claiming to help them fund their school.
I remember hearing about that. Louisiana, right?
It was because she clicked on something she shouldn't have that allowed them the access to pretend to be who they really weren't. And she wrote $100,000 check that the school just lost. She lost her job. She can't find a job. She's now, and all of that was because the school could have prevented all of it by having proper cybersecurity, by having proper checks and balances, by taking and putting money, energy, effort towards cybersecurity. So when you're just looking at, yes, we house a lot of kids' data in our schools, but think about everything that can be done with that. School pictures. You now have pictures, names, addresses, telephone numbers. You can go after these kids. I mean, I used a lot of things talking about their data, but when you really think about being cyber secure as a school, they have everything about these children. And that falling into the wrong hands means I can now target children. I can now find them at their homes. I can find those walkers that are walking to and from school. I can be the one that lies in wait to pick them up. So what they're risking is everything about those children by not being cyber secure.
Well, that's pretty good. I'm glad that you said that, because I think a lot of times we think that, oh, it's an after effect. It's after, it's maybe later type of a thing, but it's actually more than that. We really need to protect them early on. So the last one is me. So what is the consequence of them not adopting a program like mine or similar? I think my video is off, but anyway, it is money and lives. So let's do lives first, right? At the end of the day, it's okay, whatever's happening is not cool. But lives first, right? Because you cannot replace a child, period. There is nothing about the situation that allows you to say, oops, I made a mistake and let me respawn a new kid. It doesn't work that way. So we have more and more substitutes. We have more and more substitute drivers, substitute teachers, and paras, all these new people coming into the schools. And being able to provide them with enough information that allows each of them to help your children make it to their next destination. That is more important than $7 per child for the whole entire school year. So let's figure it out. So I wanted to go ahead and thank everybody for attending today. I think this was an amazing conversation. I think each and every one of you, I made sure to ask everybody to go ahead and follow your pages, follow you, connect with you. And then hopefully they have gotten something from all of this. The goal here is always the same. We want to provide a solution to an overarching problem that we actually see the numbers for. If you put out the bat flag, we're going to answer it. And we are. And that's the goal here, is to be able to provide communities, children, educators, and those people that are man in our village a solution that they can support. So thank you very much. And I look forward to seeing you guys again next week for Save Our Kids.
Love it.
Thank you for your time today. We appreciate the support and look forward to you visiting us again next week. Same time, same place. Until then, words are power. Please remember to use them wisely. If you have an interest but like to be on our live show, please let us know and send us a direct message.